Hi, everyone. We are behind the scenes of our live broadcast on KDOW in the San Francisco Bay Area of the Heart of Innovation. And I'm one of your co-hosts alongside the incredible Dr. John Phillips, interventional cardiologist,
Jeez. Hey, I'm happy to be
Columbus,
here.
Ohio.
Yes. No, I would say
Uh,
like Kim, you are co-host, but like co-host with a little asterisk. It's like 75%,
I'm
not
just the
25%.
glue,
Yeah, you're
just the
75%,
glue.
25%.
Oh, you're hilarious. Here we go, everyone. Thanks for
All right.
joining
Sponsored
us.
by The Way to My Heart
Let's do
Incorporated.
this.
Welcome to the Heart of Innovation, 60 minutes that could save life and limb with new breakthrough ideas and innovation changing the healthcare landscape. Brought to you by Patient Advocacy Group, the Global PAD Association at padhealth.org, in partnership with Reflow Medical, the pulse of medical ingenuity. Here are your hosts for the Heart of Innovation, Emmy Award-winning journalist and founder of the Global PAD Association, Kim McNicholas, and interventional cardiologist and founder of Save My Piggies Health and Wellness, Dr. John Phillips.
It is time to get moving. It is time to get the leg circulation improved, the heart circulation improved. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Heart of Innovation. Today is all about what are the little steps, just little steps that you can take every single day to improve your circulation. I know it works because just recently, my dad, who was diagnosed with heart disease in 2019 for the very first time, had a clear PET scan. His heart was no longer ischemic, his stents were open, and the doctor says, "You have a clean bill of health for the first time since 2019." And all it took were little steps, mini steps every single day that improved his circulation over time. And you can do it too. So I'm really excited about this show, Dr. Phillips. I know that New Year's resolutions, they can be really hard to continue to achieve and to stick with. There's evidence that proves that hardly anyone sticks with their New Year's resolutions. And I think it's because we make these extraordinary goals that are just unattainable. And what you really need to do is just take one step at a time.
100%. Number one, happy New Year. I was just reflecting as we were getting ready to go live how truly enjoyable it is to just for me to participate in these conversations. And just I like these episodes a lot because
Yeah, me
they're
too.
really free flowing, and hopefully we'll get some comments from folks on the line. But yeah, I mean, New Year's resolutions, I think we all do it. And once we get into my moment of inspiration, I'm going to give you a little history behind them because I thought this was kind of fascinating. But I think it's important, like you said, baby steps, or and picking resolutions that have obtainable, positive kind of goals as opposed to like negative goals, I guess. And I'll go into that a little bit. But I do have a plug for a book that one of my resolutions is to, I have a bunch of books that I start and then I like never
Yeah,
finish them. And
me
so
too.
I'm just doing one book at a time, and then I'm going to hit the Atomic Habits because this is by James Clear. It's been out for a long time, but this is, I think, a great book as we talk about New Year's resolutions, and tiny little changes make pay big dividends. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
water boils at 212 degrees, right? It doesn't boil at 211, it's 212. And so you got to get there to get the change. And it's these little habits that make big ones. So looking forward to the show. We'll have a good time.
Me too. Let's kick things off with a moment of inspiration.
Dr. John Phillips, spectacular vascular moment of inspiration.
Okay,
The
so
first one of the year.
the first one of the year, and I was looking at resolutions because we're talking about resolutions, and I'm trying to find a quote that kind of folds into that or dovetails into that. Okay, so if you look at the practice of resolutions, or like really celebrating the new year, it goes back to 2000 BC, the ancient Babylonians. Okay, and so they were the first recorded civilization to celebrate the new year, and really part of what they did was like this 12-day kind of festival, religious festival, and they made promises to their gods that they would pay their debts and return objects, that they borrowed. So I think it's kind of a promise. I think these were precursors to our more modern resolutions. And then
Yeah.
move forward a little bit, ancient Rome. So Julius Caesar, he was the first to kind of tinker with a calendar, and he established January 1st as the start of the new year. So they named that month after the two-faced god Janus, Jaus, so Janus, January, and really Janus two-faced, looking forward to the future and then backwards, and so kind of making promises to be a good steward in that coming year, which I think ultimately leads to a lot of the traditions that we have about New Year's resolutions and turning over a new leaf and being a good person and making good changes. So long-winded, my apologies. So a quick quote from Julius Caesar then about kind of motivation and seizing opportunities and taking actions. Real simple. Experience is the teacher of all things. So you got an opportunity, you kind of seize on it, you take action, you get experience, you're going to learn, you're going to keep learning, and we'll experience and experiment with resolutions that work and don't work, and then you kind of learn from those. But at the end of the day, I know you've got some good tips. We're going to talk about hypnosis, and then I've got some tips too, some heart-healthy resolutions that I think we should talk about.
I think it's really important, as we go forward, you can't be someone that you're not. Don't try to be someone that you're not. Really think about who are you as a person and what is achievable for you? What can you do? We had a post in our group recently. I think it was just yesterday, actually, and we had nearly 100 comments on it. And it was a simple post. It said, how many of you here are still smoking? And this is a group for people with poor circulation in the legs, known as peripheral artery disease, and smoking is a big risk factor. And there were a lot of comments on there from people who said, I really can't quit. I can't figure out how to quit. It wasn't until one person said, well, her husband finally quit once his leg was amputated. Another person said that the moment they were diagnosed, they were able to quit. And there were all these comments. People are in different places at different times. They have different experiences. Smoking is an addiction. Things that you are used to doing that are addiction, that are habit, they're hard to quit. So you have to start where you are. Start with who you are. Make a conscious choice to just start today. And I think that you made a good point about Janus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being two-headed, looking forward, looking back.
Mm-hmm.
You can't kick yourself. This is really the key with any habit, is what I'm told, is you can't kick yourself for looking back. You can't kick yourself for saying, oh shoot, I did end up falling back, taking 2 steps backward, and I ended up having a cigarette. You can't do that, or else it's going to push you further back. What you have to say to yourself is, okay, I'm just human. Do I want to quit? Do I prefer to quit? Do I prefer to feel better? Well, of course you do. Are you ready to feel better? Maybe, maybe not. But if you are, then make a conscious choice to say, well, the next time I go to pick up a cigarette, can I make that conscious choice to set it down?
Yeah,
And that's just an example.
right. And I think that I'm not a therapist by any stretch of the imagination, but we all make mistakes. And I think it's, you recognize it, and it's kind of the quote from Caesar, it's experience, and that teaches you. But you have to decide that you're going to make the change, and nobody can do it for you. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to my children, if I'm talking to a patient, if I'm talking to myself. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do, and I can make a change in a positive or negative inflection here, and it's up to me. So what am I going to do? And what are my kids going to do? What are my patients going to do? It's on them. But you help them,
And
right? You help them.
we help support. But when you make a big resolution, like the number one, I think it is that I'm going to go to the gym every day. And that one day you don't go to the gym, then it becomes easier to not go to the gym the next day, and then not go to the gym the next day, and then kick yourself for not going to the gym. And then you're never going to go to the gym. And because you're already, well, I failed, not going to do it anyway. So coming up next on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW, we're going to teach you how to take little achievable steps every single day to improve your circulation in your legs and your heart, and guaranteed you're going to feel better. So stay with us. Don't go away. Yes. Joshua's like, find out next, find out next. Let's do this.
Remember when Mike used to just cut you off?
I, I think at
Mike would be
some
like,
point,
yeah, I love it. Mike's
do
like,
you
yeah,
remember there were a couple times we had who was our previous producer for KDOW where Colin, and he jumped
Colin,
in and
yeah.
he's like, yeah, screw you guys. I'm taking over. He
Well,
was like,
yeah,
I'm done.
I guess I've never, like, if you're listening to it live, it goes to commercial, right? So you get just shut out, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right, Chris? Yeah.
Oops, hold on. I need to go grab my thing to plug in 1 sec.
Okay. How much time on this break?
We got about a minute more.
Okay. And then the next segment is 9-ish or so.
There you go.
9:15. Thank you.
Can I make a New Year's resolution for my dogs that they're no longer, at least they potty on the paper, but I'm tired. When it rains, they will not go outside. They don't want to get their paws whipped.
Ugh. Yeah, my dog poops on the deck when it's cold out and there's snow, and then the snow melts and I've got poop everywhere.
Yep.
Ugh.
So annoying.
Back in 30.
At least it's on the paper, I'm going to say. So, I did have an interesting New Year's resolution. I think it's the easiest one that we could do.
Okay.
Because there was a study that came out. I know it's a little off of what we're talking about, but I think it's an easy resolution to make to start with.
Let's do it.
It's kind of a weird one. You're gonna.
All right, I'll give a little. I'll bring us back, and there's a little framing the goals positively comment I want to make.
KDOW, Palo
Awesome.
Alto, AM 1220, KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Our first show of 2026, and rightfully so. We're talking about resolutions and trying to at least craft resolutions that are maintainable. And before, Kim, I know you've got one that you wanted to share, but there is evidence to suggest that when you frame the goal positively versus an avoidance type oriented goal, if it's a they call it approach oriented, so it's like, what do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
The success rate at 1 year is almost 60%, as opposed to if it's an avoidance oriented goal, like, what do you want to stop doing? Now, again, tobacco is one thing we'll get into, and that's about a 50%. So there's a 10% swing in the positive direction if it's something that you want to achieve, as opposed to what you want to stop doing. So I don't know, what's your little first goal or resolution that you want to share?
I think it's a pretty big one, but it's fairly simple. Every patient has a meeting, at least one, with their primary care specialist, right? So if each patient asks their primary care doctor what they know about PAD, I think that is a really good, achievable goal. Make a note of it, because a recent article published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine analyzed over 2.3 million patient records from 2,000 plus primary care practices nationwide. They discovered there is still a big underdiagnosis problem. Only 1% of patients, about 40 or over, received a credible PAD diagnosis between 2018 and 2022, yet population-based ABI screening studies suggest that the true prevalence of PAD should be between 5.8% and 7.2%, meaning, and this is a really big number, 82 to 86% of PAD cases may remain underdiagnosed or undiagnosed. So essentially, 5 out of 6 patients with PAD are not being identified. And one of the reasons they gave in this study is that most patients have atypical symptoms or asymptomatic. And this study, it was the Partners study, it showed that relying on claudication symptoms alone misses 85 to 90% of diagnosis of cases. And that's huge. And I think, and I'm curious your thoughts, Dr. John, I think it's because of the high prevalence of diabetes and chronic kidney disease, creating a very different type of PAD than what we used to see. It used to be, just an old person's disease, smoking disease, and a big vessel disease above the knee. And now what we're seeing is patients with below the knee disease. And for those patients, a lot of their symptoms are masked. And the real question that a doctor should be asking their patient is not that, do you have pain when you walk? It's, are you struggling to walk? Because you may struggle to walk because your legs may feel fatigued. You may have neuropathy. You may have, tingling, other sensations. And for every one of those patients, they should get an ABI test, period. So,
It starts, to your point, it starts with awareness and having a conversation about X, Y, and Z symptom or risk factor. And, you look at worldwide, there's probably 230, 240 million people with peripheral arterial disease. Now, a small subset of those have chronic limb-threatening ischemia. But if you look at the data, it states 50% of those people are asymptomatic. Thankfully, we have a test, the ABI, which has a sensitivity and specificity, meaning it rules in and rules out the PAD, very high 90s, higher than a mammogram or a pap smear or a stool study for blood. But you've to your point, you've got to ask the question. And it's not like we need to do procedures on all these folks. We've talked about that. But if you are diagnosed with PAD and it's truly PAD, then we've got to reduce your risk for heart attack or stroke. And we do that by reducing, if you smoke, you got to quit. Making sure your cholesterol is under good control, making sure your blood glucose is under good control. There's probably 20, and if I remember this correctly, there's 20, 30 million people that are pre-diabetics, right? So their resting glucose is above 100, and they're going to be a diabetic at some point, and we've got to get our arms around this. And 2026, who knows? Maybe it's a year where we can make some changes.
So what is that question that every single, even if they have PAD, if they don't have PAD, what is that question that they should be asking their doctor, their primary care, to help educate? Is it, are you asking all patients over the age of 40, are you having trouble walking? Can you walk as far as you could a year ago?
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I don't ask, again, I've got a selection bias because patients are coming to me typically because they have an abnormal test. Yeah. But I think so one of the resolutions that we definitely need to talk about, and this dovetails into it, is getting appropriate exercise. Okay. And so you need to exercise at least 150 minutes weekly of moderate intensity aerobic activity. Or half that of vigorous. And so when you talk about moderate, that's usually kind of like zone 2 with respect to your heart rate. And then vigorous is higher zones, higher heart rates. But so when you talk to somebody about exercise, I always say, well, are you exercising? No. Okay, well, why not? And then I think if you dig into that a little bit, then you can start to sift through why they're not exercising and what's going on. And so you ask the questions, and then you do the physical exam and you assess their pulses. Very few physicians, I imagine, are assessing pulses in patients. And the other thing, and I'll stop, the easiest thing, so you can get an ABI paid for if you say the patient has difficulty walking or something along the lines of claudication. It's covered. It's so cheap and it's so specific and sensitive that it's one of the great cheap tests out there.
And for those patients who have doctors that are refusing to offer an ABI, here at the Global PAD Association, we offer padtest.org. Go there, find a doctor on there. Any one of those primary care doctors or podiatrists will perform an in-office ABI in partnership with Biomedics. And if that doesn't work, call our Leg Saver hotline at 1-833-PAD-LEGS. And if you can't afford a test on your own, we will get with Lifeline Screening and we will cover a test for you as well.
What's that number again?
1-833-PAD-LEGS, LEGS. So make sure it's up there in the corner of the screen.
Oh yeah.
But we try to remove any and democratize access. We don't want anyone to not get tested. But not only do we help with, making sure you get tested, but then we help you to comply with doctor's orders. And as you were talking about, exercise is the best medicine. And we do have a free walking program, free walking seminar every single week with our Collateral Nation. We partnered with Kevin Thomas Morgan, who is an 82-year-old Ironman triathlete, world triathlete. And he has a pad training program that's worked for him at 82 years old to continue to actually compete at a world level despite PAD, despite having stents due to an aortic aneurysm. And so we're there to answer questions, help support you in your efforts every single Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you just have to email info@padhelp.org, and we'll get you signed up for the free walking program, the seminar, and all of the support as well. But Dr. John, I know, especially for people that struggle with walking, 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week, I know that's not enough. I know the guidelines say that the PAD guidelines for 2024, they say that's enough. You need to do at least 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day. But here's the deal. 30 minutes for these patients seems really daunting. And so I went and looked up whether or not 10 minutes 3 times a day versus 30 minutes will actually help. And it's a really good start for people to just say, you know what, anyone can find, right? 10 minutes here or there. I mean, throughout the day, you can get 30 minutes in, 10 minutes 3 times a day. And while this says 30-minute session produces a stronger single stimulus, it may lead to faster improvements in walking distance if tolerated, and can, but it can be hard for patients to sustain early on. So these 3 10-minute sessions, you could start there. This is a great New Year's resolution. It still stimulates collateral vessel development as long as you're taking the time and walking at a pace where you're pushing through that claudication. It's often better tolerated, it says, especially if you do have severe PAD, and it improves adherence according to studies, which really matters more long term. What do you think, Dr. John?
You know what? I'm going to share those thoughts when we come back from break. So stick with us.
Sorry, guys. When I know, thank goodness, I had a feeling, but I had the thing up so I could look at what the study said, and so it was blocking my chat.
Blocked your thing. Yeah, no, I will. So there is, I think, so that's interesting, the 10-minute thing, because it's about, I've read about 12 minutes of zone 2. Again, and zone 2 is, and I'll explain it if I haven't already, but zone 2 is just walking at a pace where you can kind of talk to somebody, like if you and I were walking, but I would be a little short of breath and it would be a little uncomfortable. So that's really all you got to get. I think what we need to just help people understand is do something, right? I mean, just do something. Something is better than nothing.
But you do, in order to get, and the way we push is, in order to actually build those collateral vessels, you need to push through the claudication. And we have several patients that have been amputated that said, I wish my doctor would have said push through the pain, because I thought that when I started to feel the pain that I should stop. I was going to hurt myself. And so that's where my little hypnosis I did comes in, where I probably would have you tweak the wording ultimately in the hypnosis that I did. But
Did we talk about
it's
that on
kind
the
of,
air? I'd love to.
yeah.
Let's do. Let's. So I'll answer the question, and then there is. So this is the next segment. I do want to get to. We should talk about diet and smoking cessation, as well as sleep as well, real quickly.
We're gonna look up Ella Mind. My friend Meredith Perry is the CEO, and she has this campaign. You have to follow her. You will laugh so hard. She has this
What is
marketing
it?
campaign. It's called Ella Mind, and it's with Meredith Perry, and she has this whole marketing campaign, Sleeping with the CEO. So she's going on trains into New York, and she's putting people to sleep. So what I was going to do is I was going to get her. She said she'd come on the show. because she and I go way back to developing cankle flops. Long story. In the back of a car on our way to Sedona. So I was going to see if she could send you one, and we could see if you go to sleep um in the way that it if you don't mind, with that during the show. And we would see with Chris D if he could get us a little bit of one longer segment and shorten the other ones, and see if we can put you to sleep. Maybe get a 12-minute segment.
30
That'd be
seconds.
hilarious. Anyway, I'll let you. But sleep, that's so hard for people, even me.
Qualify for zero cost health insurance in your state. Call now.
Paid for by cheaper health insurance. 800-941-6933. 800-941-6933. 800-941-6933. That's 800-941-6933.
1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Well, before we went to break, Kim was really focused on the development of collaterals at 10 minutes 3 times a day versus 30 minutes once a day. And, I, who am not an Emmy Award-winning anything, frankly, I had to take us to break, and it was not my best hour, but I
think you're a pro.
I do. You know what?
You did a great job.
After a few
At least
years,
with you, we could find a caboose to your train of thought. A lot of times it's like, where's Kim's caboose? You can't find it.
But so to answer your question, I guess, number one, and this is important, because I don't know that I've ever had a patient that has known peripheral arterial disease hurt themselves from walking to the pain and then through the pain. Now, if you're walking and your leg just kind of goes numb for some reason and you trip and fall, yeah, gosh, I mean, let's be careful there. But I don't think we stress enough to those patients who have peripheral arterial disease to walk, help develop the collaterals or the natural bypasses, walk through it, and then rest, and then keep going. And I also think, and we've talked about this before, make sure you write down how far you walked, and then you can chart how you progress each day or week or whatever it is. But we talked about the 12 minutes at the level or at zone 2, which really is walking fast enough that it's kind of you're short of breath, but you could talk to somebody. So you don't have to like go crazy and get your heart rate up to 150. Get it to like 120 or so and look up zone 2 based on your age, and it'll tell you what it is. And do that for, at least 12 minutes a day. That is something that is positive. It is aerobic, and it is better than nothing.
And I want to bring in, we have someone in our live studio audience. We have Mike. And I love that when we go to call in someone in the live studio audience, because they have no idea. They're like, oh, shoot, who is she going to call on? But I want to call on Mike, because Mike came on our show, The Heart of Innovation. You can look it up at youtube.com/the way to my heart. Great story. And Mike, within 6 months, he went from not walking at all because of the claudication pain in his legs to literally doing a 13K and improving his ABI, his test numbers for circulation. And I'm curious, at the very beginning, your mindset, it's hard, Mike, right? To kind of get in the mindset when you know that there's going to be pain, to actually get motivated to walk, right?
Yeah, definitely. Walking on the treadmill to start off with in January, February, once I was diagnosed, it was a killer. It really was. I really, really did struggle. But joining this group and learning that, yes, to walk through the pain and stuff, I've learned so much more off this group than any physician, to be honest. And yeah, so I walk through the pain now. I don't even get any pain, to be honest, unless I'm on a high incline. And Dr. Phillips will remember me saying when I was on the Save My Piggies that, I was struggling, and now I'm doing 2-minute intervals of running on the treadmill. I've spent 10 minutes running now. I'm planning on climbing a mountain when I go back to England with VJ. Yeah, I did a 13-kilometer.
Yeah, Mike, you
walk for charity.
You're a testament to what can be done in folks that have peripheral arterial disease, and I think it's
Thank you.
um, people can use you as motivation, and we've had lots of guests on that push through the pain and walk.
Yeah.
I forget, we had that one woman on who was on a
We had
treadmill, I think, when
VJ.
we were doing
It
the
was
show.
VJ.
Oh yeah, VJ,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah,
That was
BJ,
It's like,
VJ.
you
They're
can do
gonna
it,
go
folks.
climb mountains together in
You
England.
Yeah, me.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
flying
awesome.
to the UK. I'm flying to the UK on the 17th, so it's 2 weeks today, actually.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking to VJ, and we're planning on going mountain
It's
climbing.
awesome.
One day I'm going to go and pick her up and go. She's going to take me on a hike. So
That is awesome.
So
there
it's
we go.
amazing, just the little steps. And so what I thought we could do, Dr. John, is when
Mhm.
I went on a cruise over the
Okay.
holidays with my dad to spend time with my dad, and I took a self-hypnosis class, and part of the class was to create your own self-hypnosis for something that was important to you. And for me, it's helping people with PAD. So I wondered if I could go through this, and if everyone wants to try and give me some feedback, let me know what you think. But if everyone can do this with me, that'd be great.
All right.
So, okay, so they say to start sitting or standing comfortably. Take one slow breath in, breathe in, and now let it out. And now take one more breath in and let it out. And now in your mind, let's go for a walk. Okay, you're walking at a steady, purposeful pace. You're not rushed. It's not casual. Whatever brisk pace means to you, just moving forward. Okay, now after a little bit of time, you're starting to notice some sensations in your legs. It depends who you are, what types of sensations you might feel. You might feel some tightness, maybe a little bit of pulling, maybe a little bit of pressure, maybe a little bit of fatigue, but that's expected if you do have PAD. I want you to say to yourself, this is just claudication. And pause in your mind and say this next. Claudication means my muscles are just asking for more blood. My muscles need blood flow. And that's a fact. Okay. So now take a slow breath in. And add in your mind, this pain, it's just a signal. It's not damage. I'm not hurting myself. It's just my muscles asking for more blood. That's it. Now pause in your mind. And as you keep walking, just let your mind go. You might feel that sensation increase. And that's the point where most people stop. No, don't stop. Instead, I want you to remind yourself, this is where improvement starts. Say this clearly. Stopping too early keeps me limited. It only helps me to argue for my limitations. No, we don't want to do that. Now say this. Continuing safely builds tolerance. You're not fighting your body. You're just simply training it. Keep your breathing steady. Now I want you to say, I decide when to stop. Not my legs. I make that choice. Not fear, not habit. I make that choice. Now imagine completing the walk. No, not pain-free. You're just finished. And I want you to say, I just did what helps my circulation. I improved my circulation with just that one act of walking. Now take one slow breath in and breathe out. And when I count to 3, I want you to open your eyes and increase your awareness. In 1, 2, 3. I think everyone's fallen asleep.
It's weird when
So-
when you think about walking. Like, I pictured myself walking in my neighborhood, and I was kind of like going up hills and things. And thankfully, I don't have PAD, but it really was strange because I guess I've never thought about walking before. in my mind, and it took me away. And then I was trying to like work the hypnosis portion of it in too. But me, I felt like I was meditating a little bit there, and it was very peaceful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, coming up
Oh,
next right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to hear what some of our live studio audience thought of that meditation. So stay with us and don't go away. I don't know. What did you guys think? Kind of weird. It's my first one I ever wrote. So it was probably a little lengthy. The words probably weren't quite right, but
so
it,
is the be I've never been hypnotized before. Is someone constantly speaking to you? Or
yeah, they're speaking to you the whole time. I was kind of rushing through it, surprisingly, but I think hypnosis, I think it's a little bit
Mhm.
misrepresented. Hypnosis meaning that you're in a state. It's
Like some
literally
trance or
what she,
something, right? Yeah.
yeah, but the way she explained it was just controlling your own mind, taking a moment to think what you want to think and focusing on something because your mind is so powerful. And if you take that moment and you start just focusing on what you want to think, it's just like in the morning.
Hmm.
She even called self hypnosis getting up in the morning. And as soon as the moment you wake up, you're actually in a little bit of a meditative state. And just right before you go to bed as well. And that's when you should do your moment of gratefulness, be thankful for being awake, being alive, whatever it is. And then also making your intention statement, which is, I would like to make this a great day.
30
I
seconds.
am, whatever it might be.
Hmm.
We only have 4 minutes. We have 8 minutes,
8 minutes, yeah.
5:50.
Because
So
this
we
is
can get
4. 5
into,
is only 4. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, we can
I
get
want you to.
into smoking and diet too.
Yep.
But I want you guys to comment on if anyone has comments on that,
Loyalty to the Islamic
whatever you
State
think.
group. Christian Sturtevant is charged with attempting to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. This
AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
It's so hard to bookend what we're talking about in under 50 minutes or whatever it is. So make sure you check us out on YouTube, because during the break there, Kim was sharing some pretty cool things about an intention statement, and I'd love to get into that because if we have time. But I'll give you my thoughts on the hypnosis or what that was like, and then we'll pull in folks from the audience. Like I had said, I think to me that felt like a kind of a meditative state. I've never been hypnotized in my mind. I feel like it's, I'm asleep in a trance or something. Then I wake up and I don't, smoke cigarettes anymore. Because it's funny that now that the new year has started, I've heard several commercials for hypnosis camps or whatever in the Columbus area. But I think it's powerful stuff. I think meditating and kind of getting your mind right in the morning and at night makes a lot of sense. And putting your phone away and not engaging your phone at night is a New Year's resolution that I bet a lot of people are going to try to make and then break. So maybe Kim, before we get to the audience members, can you just share with us what you were thinking about with respect to that statement in the morning and statement at night?
So when you think about hypnosis, I think that there's just a little bit of a misperception of it. It's literally just a time to focus on what you want to focus on and allowing yourself to stay focused on particularly an intention. And where this instructor, her name was Brenda, she was saying that the best times to do this is right as you're drifting off to sleep and right when you wake up is start with just gratefulness. What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for being alive. I'm thankful that I can close my eyes. I'm thankful that I can open my eyes. I'm thankful that my heart will continue beating without me thinking about it. I'm thankful that my lungs continue to inflate without me having to think about it. I'm thankful that my blood is flowing, even though I don't have to think about it and tell it to flow, but I can tell it to flow. And it's all about beyond that, then setting the intention that I will have a great day. I'm having a great day today. And she said, it's not I will. She said, it's even more powerful to say, I am having a great day today. And it's as easy as that. And if you can start there, I think that's an easy resolution to make because that's something you can do every day and you can do it in less than 10 seconds.
I mean, some of the other resolutions that a lot of people make, eat healthier, get more sleep. I mean, like those are important as well. But I think that to your point, if you start the day off with something that's positive and a tiny little change, and you're aware of it and you're really intentionally thinking about it, your day is going to be better than if you wake up and, oh man, this is going to be a crappy day. You know, I got to go to my job. I hate my job, blah, blah, blah. Well, you've already started off on the wrong foot, pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you stub your toe and
Yeah.
you start going, "Oh my God, it hurts. That was painful. That's crappy day." And then, well, of course, it's like a domino effect throughout the day. And then you think, well, it's just one thing and then another and then another. And at some point, you need to make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm going to take control of my life. It feels better. Whether or not you believe it, whether or not you believe in your control, it just feels better to think that you do have
Yeah.
some control. And if
Yeah.
you feel like you can have some control over your life, then you're going to make better, more conscious decisions, whether it's to walk more, whether it's to eat better, whether it's to stop smoking. And even when it comes to quitting smoking, we do have our Monday nights, and Douglas is here. He's a certified addiction counselor out of Texas, and he's also a PAD warrior. He's been through this, still struggles every day to fight the habit of smoking, and he supports people along with his co-peer support network person, Becca. And it's every Monday night at 7:30. info at padhelp.org to sign up for our weekly meetings. But we have something we call conscious smoking. It's when you decide to pick up that cigarette, you need to write down where you are. You need to write down what you're doing. You need to write down what triggered it, what thought crossed your mind. And then when you take that first puff, you need to say, am I satisfied? You need to ask yourself that question. And if it's no, which typically it's not after the first, you put it down. And then when you pick it up again, you ask yourself after taking that next puff, am I satisfied? And it's conscious smoking. It's being more conscious and being more in control versus letting those habits control you. And Douglas is in our live studio audience. Douglas, did you want to chime in?
Oh, I was a little off there, but yeah, sorry. I was reading my sesame seed crusted salmon because Santa Claus didn't bring me my Lay's, but he brought me a new air fryer.
Ooh, so you're going to be eating healthier.
I'm going to be eating healthier. And the point about the journaling, what you were saying there, the whole point about that is it gives you an ability a month later to go back and look at each situation so you can be aware of those situations and why you're doing what you're doing when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because normally we don't think about, like Dr. John was saying, I never thought about walking like what you thought about. We don't do that with smoking or drinking or those bad habits that we have. That's why journaling is so important in that sense, that you can go back and look. Well, I smoked more when I was under stress, or I smoked more when I was bored, smoked more when I was lonely, whatever that is, because it gives you the ability to look at it on paper. Because when you write something down, it becomes very visible and logical.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And because we say things so many times, walk, like Dr. John says, walk. How often do we say that word and we don't think about it? But when you write it down, it becomes, it's just something else. And for me, it's like, it gives me I journal and I do a gratitude list every morning.
Oh, good for you.
I've been doing that. Well, I'm 40 years clean and sober. So I've been doing that for 40 years.
Wow.
And it's a reminder, like you were saying, to remember about being grateful for the little things that we have. that we do have. Yes, you may not be where you want to be, but if you have a roof over your head, that's a start. If you
It
woke
could
up in
even
a
be,
bed, that's a
Yeah.
yeah,
start. Put socks on, your wool socks, because they're better for
your
your
wool
feet.
socks.
Or if you get up and
Even
you're
in the
doing,
Texas heat.
yes, if you
Okay.
get up and you're doing yoga toes in the morning, be grateful you have and you can do that. For me, this year is going to be eating, and like I said, I got me a Santa brought me an air fryer, so I've been doing nothing but looking at how I'm going to be able to cook this year and eat even healthier than I've been trying to, and that's a big difference in that sense. So yes.
Thank you, Douglas. Now, Dr. John, what
Mhm.
about eating? Eating better. What are some good New Year's resolutions for
Well,
eating better
I
to
mean,
improve circulation?
real quick, we've got a minute left or so, and it's really emphasizing vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, lean protein, so more fish, and then you minimize the red meats, processed meats for sure. Get rid of processed meats, refined carbohydrates, sugar sweetened garbage. I mean, but that's a lot to take in. But really, just focus on the Mediterranean diet and eat less.
Yeah,
We eat way too much as Americans.
we do. And I have a few things that I think before we head into break, that you might want to just add that are really easy. Just when you go to the supermarket, add fermented foods to your diet, the sauerkraut, the kimchi, miso, yogurt, kefir, all of those are really, really helpful for gut health. And then there are actual foods that help with your CoQ10 levels. That's
Mm.
really important. Organ meats, fatty fish, salmon, especially sardines, nuts and seeds, peanuts, pistachios, sesame seeds, vegetables like spinach, broccoli, and cauliflower, as well as some whole grains, but in smaller amounts. So that's just a few. We'll get into more next, right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away. It's interesting because as we've moved into, I was reading this article, and it was how certain um, Japanese could live to like more than 100, and they were saying that one of there were two main things that they took away. One was the natto, so the fermented soy. And number two, which I thought was interesting, I was reading all about CoQ10 levels,
30
and
seconds.
they can
Oh,
test for that.
really?
But since we've gotten rid of eating animal meats, because if you go for the grain finish meats, remember that regenerative ranching thing,
Hmm.
you're not going to get all the benefits. It's going to be hurting you worse than helping.
Right.
Um, but anyway, they were saying animal-based foods are really key to improving your CoQ10 levels. I don't know where you want to go with this, so
I'm gonna give a couple of
1220
updates on
KDOW.
other heart healthy things real quick, and then I'll let you take us home. There's
Welcome
only 3
back to
minutes.
the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
As we wrap up our first show of 2026, I just want to share a couple of other New Year's resolutions, kind of top 10, at least from a heart healthy PAD prevention standpoint. Making sure you try to control your blood pressure. So that top number, we want it less than 130. Okay. Managing good blood glucose to prevent diabetes. We've talked about that. So if you're pre-diabetic, making sure you're having conversations with your primary care physician and changing your diet, talking to a dietitian. You can also often get your, insurance will cover a conversation with a dietitian. And then, finally optimizing cholesterol levels. We really, really push for reduced LDLs. There's actually certain populations, because their LDL is so low, they do not get coronary artery disease. So a couple more things to try to focus on in 2026.
and there is actually a cardiologist backed food system called One Step Foods. And you can, it's a subscription model. It's a little pricey, but you can do it at home. In order to improve your cholesterol levels, if you do have what we call a cholesterol reabsorption issue, not necessarily liver production, but you're not having enough bowel movements each day to excrete, the little bad cholesterol particles. But you increase your psyllium husk and you increase your plant sterols. And that's something to have a discussion with your dietitian, your nutritionist about, to see if that's something that's right for you. But you can go to One Step Foods and find out a little bit more, because Mayo Clinic did research using their program, and they found great results in improving cholesterol levels just by eating right, just by increasing psyllium husk and plant sterols in the diet.
So less
that's
than
good
2 minutes to go, Kim. What are you looking forward to in 2026? Is there one thing that you're really just gonna get behind and lean into and see if you can achieve it, or just keep anything?
I think we're going to double down on reducing amputations. Doctors who are amputating legs without a proper vascular assessment. And I really want to encourage every doctor out there to literally give up the patient instead of giving up on the patient. If amputation is on deck for any patient, to let another set of eyes take a look and see if a different tool or technique might be available to help them save their leg.
Yeah, I like that. Give up instead of give up the patient. Don't give
Don't
up
give
on
up
their
on them.
on
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
What about
I'm
you?
hoping, for me, I just hope that we can continue to raise awareness, and each time we talk about these little changes in your lifestyle, these are positive things, and you ultimately control, your destiny to some degree. And there's one other book that I will plug, and I think I've done this before, is Man's Search for Meaning, by Viktor Frankl. He survived the Holocaust, and he found meaning while being in Auschwitz. So if you can find meaning there, you can find meaning anywhere in life.
Great way to start the new year. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
You've been listening.
Fantastic.